It's a pleasure to be with you here tonight. I'm Mitch Henry. I'm the brand new president of Faulkner University. And it's a pleasure for me to be here. Got some connections with your congregation. One of my students who I taught constitutional law is a church member here, Taylor. Her dad just led a prayer. What a great young lady. And I'm just thrilled that young people like that can come to our school and learn how to do what is the theme of my presidency at Faulkner, and that is to be a vocational minister. My goal is to encourage young people and old people too to make their work their ministry. We need Christian attorneys. We need Christian nurses. We need Christian school teachers. We need Christian computer scientists. We need Christian businessmen and businesswomen. And that's what I'm all about. See, I didn't grow up in higher education. I'm a lawyer. I think God's kind of got a sense of humor to make a lawyer the president of a Christian university. Talked to a few folks tonight that work for Southern Company. Bud Rogers in Montgomery goes to church with me. Bud became a Christian when I was a teenager, and we've known each other for years. Bud's just one of those can-do guys. I told Bud of this story. There was a lineman like Bud that died, and he was supposed to go to heaven, but he went to the other place. And so the Lord noticed that happen, and he was trying to get things figured out. Well, the lineman made the best of it while he was down there. He noticed that the gates of hell were off their hinges. And so he got his tools out, and he fixed the gates of hell so they would swing right. And then he noticed it was a little bit warm down there. So he got his tools out, and he worked on the air conditioning system, and he cooled things off, and things were a little more tolerable down there. Well, the Lord saw all this going on, and he said to the devil, he said, "Devil, that power company lineman is supposed to be up here in heaven." And the devil said, "You know, we kind of like him down here." And the Lord said, "You don't understand. We've got it in writing. It's in the Lamb's Book of Life written right here. This is the lineman's name. See it? You know, he needs to be up here right now." And the devil said, "I don't care if it's in writing." And the Lord said, "If you don't get that man up here right now, I'm going to sue you." And the devil said, "You go right ahead. Where are you going to find a lawyer up there?" Now, I hope that didn't insult you if you're a lawyer. But, you know, there's a little bit of truth to every lawyer joke. Lawyers have a tough reputation, but, folks, that's why we need Christian lawyers. We have a law school at Faulkner University. We have a tremendous health sciences school that's turning out physician's assistants and physical therapists and occupational therapists. Got a great school of education that turns out wonderful teachers and counselors. Got a great business school, and we hope that if you or a family member comes to Faulkner, or if you decide to take Faulkner online, whether you're young, an adult student, or a graduate student, that you'll be blessed by that experience, and you'll see that we as a Christian university are all about vocational ministry and helping people to find opportunities and ways to serve others with what they do. Now, tonight I want to talk about something related to what's going on our campus. I believe that there is no other time in the history of this nation where Christian education is more relevant than right now. Whether that's kindergarten through 12th education or college or graduate school education, now is a time where Christian education is relevant. Coming out of this pandemic, have you noticed that people are looking for reconnection? They're looking for connection back again with their family and their friends. They're looking to get reconnected spiritually with their church and with their fellowship. Also, I noticed that people coming out of the pandemic are a little bit fearful. And from the standpoint of Christianity, there's reason for us to be a little bit fearful, but to put our courage and trust in God. One is, at this point in time, there is a hostility toward traditional teachings based on the Holy Bible, more so than I've ever seen in my lifetime. A few years ago, when the U.S. Supreme Court changed the definition of marriage to include homosexual marriage, that seemed to be a tipping point in a lot of ways, and a lot of people that want to push agendas that are inconsistent with the Bible took heart and began pushing really hard. You saw this being pushed more in our schools. You saw this being pushed more by CEOs, okay? And in the pandemic, during that time, you saw an exponential growth in pushing agendas based on transgender values and based on values that are inconsistent with what God's Word teaches in a number of ways. And so at this point, more than any other, I believe that Christian education has an important role and a place to play. But the thing of those three things that I just talked about, I want to concentrate on the one that's the most important. And that is, coming out of the pandemic, people are longing for spiritual connection. You see that in the exponential growth of two particular groups here in America, religious groups. There are two groups coming out of the pandemic that aren't complaining about folks coming back to church. They're growing. There are two groups that are growing because they have had a traditional and long-standing emphasis on evangelism. What do I mean by that? They are out there actively seeking people to come to their churches, actively seeking people to come to know what they say is their version of the plan of salvation. And those two groups are Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the Mormons, and you want to guess the other one? Jehovah's Witness. Two groups that are out there teaching false doctrine are growing exponentially. Why? Because coming out of this pandemic, people are hungry for spiritual things. They're hungry for the gospel. And I want to share with you, there's a spiritual awakening happening on our campus at Faulkner University. I've seen this firsthand. Now, Faulkner University, only about a third of our students have a direct connection with the Churches of Christ. So that means that 2/3 of our students either are connected with some other religious group or they're not churched at all. And quite a few students don't have a religious background or a church-going background. Back last spring, 13 students were baptized by one man. He was not a Bible professor. His name is Jeremy Smith, and Jeremy Smith is the sports information director at Faulkner University. And Jeremy would ask one question to his students who work with him in work study, keeping sports statistics and doing video and doing broadcasting. Those student workers, he would tell them, come to my office anytime you've got a problem or an issue, or if there's something good that happens, I want to be here for you. And when they would come, he would listen to their problems or issues or the good things that were happening and would ask one question. How are you doing spiritually? And from that one question, it would lead to a Bible study, and folks were getting baptized. This semester, we've had one baptism already. It was done by a young man named Philip Hickson. Philip Hickson is a Bible student. Philip is going to school tuition-free now at Faulkner. He's one of our Jack Zorn scholars. That's right. If you want to study Bible at Faulkner University, you can go there free of tuition charges. And if you know a young man or young woman in the Church of Christ that wants to do that, please let Megan Lee, wave Megan, let Megan Lee know, she's our recruiter in this area, or let me know. We want to offer an opportunity for that person to come here. And we want our young people to be prepared to go into our churches and to preach and to teach, to plant churches and to revive churches that are struggling. We are serious, and I'm personally serious as the president of this school, of serving our churches and make sure that we do something and don't flounder this opportunity that we have to help our churches grow. Because people that you know and people that I know are longing for what? For spiritual connection. I want to share something that occurred. This occurred right before I officially became president. They announced I was going to be president at the end of March, and I started on June the 1st. In between that time, I had a lunch with a guy named Reed Sutton. Reed Sutton is the basketball coach for our women's basketball team. Went to Dreamland Barbecue in Montgomery. I love Dreamland. We're there. We order our food and our drinks, and the waiter turns and walks away from me. He's a young African-American man. And as he turns to walk away from me, for some reason I ask him, hey, what's your name? And he says, my name is Azariah. Azariah. Now, immediately before he came to get our order, Reed Sutton and I are talking about the spiritual awakening that's taking place on our campus. 4 of those 13 people were basketball players on Reed Sutton's basketball team. You see, everyone at Faulkner is looking to influence and encourage young people to become Christians, including our coaches. And so we're talking about spiritual awakening. This young man says his name is Azariah, and I immediately turned to Reed and I said, okay, who's Azariah in the Bible? Does anybody know an Azariah in the Bible? There's a bunch of them. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, one of those Hebrew names was Azariah, okay? Well, the next morning at 6 a.m., my phone dings, and it's Reed Sutton, and he says, you've got to read 2 Chronicles 15. So I immediately get 2 Chronicles 15 out, and I read it. Turns out one of the Azariahs in the Bible was a prophet. He was sent to the king of Judah, a king named Asa. And I want to read for you what it says in 2 Chronicles 15. Now the Spirit of God came upon Azariah, the son of Oded, and he went out to meet Asa and said to him, hear me, Asa, and all Judah and Benjamin. Listen to this. The Lord is with you while you are with him. If you seek him, he will be found by you. But if you forsake him, he will forsake you. And if you read on in that chapter, you learn that King Asa listened to the prophet Azariah. And guess what happened in Judah? There was a spiritual awakening. They tore down the high places. They began worshiping in the temple again. And the people came back. The people came back in droves to Judah because they were seeking the Lord. Because the people at that time were longing for a spiritual connection. Do you think I'm fired up a little bit? Folks, I'm so excited about what we can do, not just at that school, but what the Lord is leading us to do in our churches, in the churches of Christ, in this state, and in this area. And my challenge for you, for your young people, my challenge for this church is that you make your work your ministry and you look for those opportunities to teach, train, and bring people to know the Lord. Now, some of you may want to do that tonight. Some of you may not have been baptized. Some of you may need the prayers of this church. I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak with you. If you have any need, whatever that might be, won't you come while we stand and sing?